Hello, and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'm Dr. Cheryl. Wake up to your unconditional love. Wake up to being non-judgmental. Wake up to being too critical of yourself and others. That doesn't mean giving up critical thinking. There is a difference. Wake up to stopping the murders that are rampantly happening today. I read some statistics the other day, and I'm shocked. But the U.S. is the first in the world for deaths, murders. It's over 10,000 in a year, blatant murders. And the second is Israel at 58. I just can't believe it. What the bleep is going on in our society? We all need to collectively wake up. Wake up to being and sharing your love. Wake up to thinking positive, no matter what. We need unconditional love more than ever today, especially in this season of giving and receiving. People keep asking me, what is unconditional love? Well, it's being non-judgmental and non-critical and having patience. And this is the beginning. This all starts with how you think and feel about yourself. The tragedy at Newtown, Connecticut is an example of how much healing our fellow human beings need. Everywhere on this planet has some sort of healing and transformation happening. Every one of us. Please take responsibility for your emotional, mental, and spiritual healthiness. Ask for help. First, recognize and acknowledge that you have a challenge. We all have challenges in life. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have something to work through. I haven't even begun to share all the challenges that I've had and to get through. But when I have faith and trust, that is the most important. A year ago, I was swindled out of thousands and thousands of dollars, and I have been couch surfing for almost a year. However, I jumped into starting this program because of my purpose and passion for getting this message out. Our society is in desperate need of tremendous shift in consciousness. Wake up! I believe the moral fiber in this country has unraveled to the point that it is forcing a reconstruction and serious healing of our true core and fundamental values. It's not just our wonderful America, but it's all over the globe. It's a global issue. It starts with love and then money. Yes, money. Our value system puts entirely too much value on money and material things. There's nothing wrong with money. It's just the unbalanced value that is put on it. Where is the love and happy relationships as our foundation and not money as our foundation? Wake up to unconditional love, applying this principle to everything. Why do you think our global community is in such a crisis? Wake up to your happiness. Wake up to your freedom. We have a very special guest today, and his name is Stewart Levine. This is the first part of a two-part discussion with Stewart. Stewart Levine is a resolutionary. Stewart is a creative problem solver widely recognized for creating agreement and empowerment in the most challenging circumstances. He improves productivity while saving the enormous cost of conflict. His innovative work with agreements for results and his revolutionary conversational models are unique. As a practicing lawyer, he realized that fighting was a very ineffective way of resolving problems. As marketing executive for AT&T, he saw that the reason collaborations fall apart in that people do not spend the time at the beginning of a new working relationship to create clarity about what they want to accomplish together and how they will get there. This is true for employment relationships, teams, joint ventures, and all members of any virtual team. As a result of his observations, he designed conversational models that create agreements for results and a quick return to productivity, and those working relationships break down. He uses his approach to form teams and joint ventures in a variety of situations. He works with individuals, couples, partners, small and large organizations of all kinds. His model for problem solving, collaboration, and conflict resolution are endorsed by the House Judiciary Committee. He teaches communication and conflict management skills for the American Management Association, CEO's Base, and the International Partnering Institute. He is a lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley Law School, and the MBA program at Dominican University of California, which is local. Stewart has recently inducted into the College of Law Practice Management. He's at resolutionworks.com if you want more information. Stewart, it's wonderful to have you here. I'm so glad that you could join us here today. And I've actually done your intro already, so the audience and the viewers know who you are and what you're about. And if you'd like, you can please expand on that a little bit and before we go into my questions.
Great. Well, I heard you, okay, so you hit, most of the high points. What I think is real important by way of summary is after practicing law for 10 years, I realized that I was creating a lot of conflict in what I was doing. And I needed to do something else because it wasn't very congruent with my own soul and my own spiritual orientation. And so I needed a little break, and I went to work for AT&T. And I was running a sales and marketing team, and it was a wonderful introduction to the large corporate world and to organizational change, because this was in the 1980s as AT&T was going through some huge changes. But one of the things that I also noticed is that the reason that people often ended up in conflict was because they didn't have good agreements on the front end of any form of collaboration. Now, parallel track, I studied to do divorce mediation and started doing divorce mediation, working with couples as they were going through their worst. And out of that, I developed some models around communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, which over time I've moved into the sphere of working with large, small organizations, government entities of all kinds. And so that provides the foundation of my work in terms of teaching people how to play well in the sandbox and how to create great results in the world.
That's great. I'm thinking of one question, though, that you said in the beginning, or something that you said in the beginning, is how did you create conflict?
Oh!
I'm just curious,
Sure.
I mean, anybody can create conflict, really. But
well, okay. So I hadn't thought of this story in many, many years. But as a second-year law student working for a Camden Legal Services in Camden, New Jersey, I was taking a semester course. It was a clinic. And essentially, it was representing people who couldn't afford lawyers. And they gave me 25 cases on the first day of the semester, and they said, Stewart, this is your work. This ought to keep you busy for the next 15 weeks. 3 weeks later, I went back to the head of the program, and I said, I need some more cases. And he looked at me. He looked at me and said, what'd you do with all your cases? I said, well, I settled them all. He said, how'd you do that? I said, well, I read through the files and I got a sense of what might be fair to everyone, and I made some phone calls and everybody said yes.
Wow. Okay.
I spent the next 10 years, thinking I had to do the opposite as a good lawyer. I didn't understand when I was at Legal Services. I thought my job was to resolve conflict. I didn't understand it was to represent someone zealously and create conflict and fight.
Wow.
And then I had to walk away.
Oh, wow. Well, that's the dichotomy of being a lawyer. I mean, that's my...
Right. And what I've learned is that once in a while you need to go to battle. But that's rare. Most of the time you get just a much, much better result by problem solving, by figuring out, what's the real problem here,
Yeah.
And how do we get to the bottom of it, and how do we take care of it?
Well, I think today that is really a key, especially what my purpose and passion of, you know, the unconditional love thing. It all comes down to that, to me. It comes down to that. But, and money. I mean, money is a focus, and that's why I wanted to bring you on too, is to have some, I have some questions that I'd like to ask you.
Shoot away.
Okay. Well, how were you taught about the value and how to think and feel about wealth and money from your parents, caregivers, whomever,
Sure.
teachers?
I mean, the admonition that I was brought up with, and I feel very fortunate as I look back on it, the admonition was, do what you love and the money will follow. I mean, we hear that, as a great spiritual... Exactly.
I mean, not that you're that old, I don't mean it that way, but it's like that's a kind of ahead of...
Yeah, I didn't have to go back and kind of reprogram myself. That was embedded in me.
Well, it's a blessing.
And it was a huge blessing because, you know, it allowed me to follow my bliss. It allowed me to keep moving until I found what really made me happy, and work that connected to the deepest core, the deepest part of me, which I had to do a lot of work to identify and find.
Now, are you talking about internal work, into your own personal internal work?
Absolutely.
And also external, because it's all integrated.
Absolutely. I mean, and really, the double benefit is that the more personal work you do on yourself, the better you get at the kind of work that I do, because it's really about being a clear channel for others. But it was also work to identify what it was that was the core skill that I could provide for others, you know, that I just naturally do, just like the story that I told you about the legal services work.
So now explain what you mean by clear channel.
What I mean by clear channel is when you're trying to help others prevent or move through conflict, it's not about what you think a result should be or what you think others want. It's about being a good facilitator. And so if you have an edge, an orientation, a bias, if you get in the way of people getting what they want, you're not really serving them that effectively. So it's about having your own voices kind of quiet so you can be there in service to others.
So that's what you mean by being the channel. Oh, open.
Exactly.
Kind of an open channel.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, this conflict resolution, or I said, you know, to resolve things is a major issue in the whole world today. I mean, especially with what's going on in our society. I mean, I'm just,
It's huge, and people are not very good at it because they don't have a mind map and a skill set for how to move through it. And a lot of what we see in the media create poor role models for people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we need a whole shift, dynamic paradigm shift on that. And I don't, well, we just have to keep talking about it and get it out there, out in the public.
Well, you know, just on the way over here, I was listening to public radio. And there was a little bit of a commercial for a new HBO series after the first of the year, which is going to be about a woman who is kind of frustrated by her corporate job, goes off on a spiritual retreat, then goes back to work, and though she tries to stay centered, is now having a lot of challenges.
Oh my goodness, I can relate.
And it really kind of lit up some light bulbs for me because I have an idea for a series called The Resolutionary. Okay, about someone who could provide positive role modeling for the kinds of things we're talking about. And if HBO is doing something that's bordering on that, it means, well, we're in the mainstream. We're not so far on the edge.
Oh, thank God, it's about time.
Yes, isn't it?
That's why I'm doing this, starting this, because it needs, I mean, Oh,
Yeah,
ABC, NBC, all of them. CBS, all of them. PBS, I don't, all of them.
Absolutely. It's time.
It's time. I mean, this is the transformational time is right now.
Right. It's
right
now. In some sense, it's now or never. In some sense, it's now or never because there's just so much at stake.
Oh, well, we can't keep doing, I mean, the fact that there's all these murders happening, my heart bleeds because of it, because it just shows how much healing needs to be done and how much healthy thinking needs to be done.
And there's a way in which that rage is pent up because people don't have the awareness, communication skills to kind of articulate and talk about what's going on. There are principles in the emotional world of having an effective emotional vocabulary. If you can identify and put a label on a feeling that you're having, you can move through it a lot more easily as opposed to just walking around with undifferentiated rage.
Right, and it's okay to express it. I mean, I know that the male population, and females do too, it isn't just a gender thing.
Right.
But they don't, like you said, they don't have the skills to be able to articulate how to get through it, and it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to do that. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but it's necessary to be healthy and free. It's so freeing.
Absolutely. Well, what we're talking about here is the foundation of emotional intelligence.
EQ.
Self-awareness as kind of the key foundational piece for first identifying what's going on so that you're aware of it, so you can harness it, manage it, so it doesn't kind of squirt out and get in the way of working together effectively with other human beings, which is what hopefully most people are trying to do.
Well, and as far as anger goes, I think it is important to get the anger out physically. That's why, like for myself, I mean, I don't get angry that often anymore, but I do get angry, but I exercise. I exercise religiously, or sometimes, I mean, I've been known to be so angry that I'll take a tennis racket and I'll hit the bed. So I don't hurt anybody, I'm not hurting myself, but I admit, I've gotten that angry where I do that, but it's healthy to get it out of your body.
Sure. My major meditation practice is swimming meditation, which is just absolutely
Swimming's wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I ride my bike and I do yoga, and I'll do aerobics, but it's walking.
I think as creatures we were designed for this activity.
Oh, we have to move.
And in a modern civilized society, we don't get enough of that activity.
No, because they're too busy working and trying to get the money.
Right.
And that's the antithesis, because like you said, if you follow what you truly want to be doing, purpose and passion, money follows.
Absolutely. I mean,
that's what it's about. Napoleon Hill wrote about that way back 70 plus years ago.
Right. And the other critical piece, which I'm sure we'll talk about, is that true wealth is not about accumulating.
We'll get back to that.
Accumulating.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's part of it, but that's not the main focus. So while we're talking about that, while we're going into that, what do spiritual principles mean to you?
Well, my own spiritual principles / values / being connected to myself / seeing life as a vehicle for taking care of others. They're the core and the foundation of my life. It's my raison d'etre. It's what drives me. They're the critical pieces. I mean, it's interesting. Over the last 6 months, 2 years actually, I think that my own spiritual principles have been tested in a number of ways. My wife had a recurrence of breast cancer 2 years ago, after being cancer-free for 19 years.
Wow.
On Labor Day, just this past Labor Day, her son was killed in an automobile accident. He was 40. And the next day, my mom had died after very quick illness with a major stroke.
Wow.
She was 89 years old.
Yeah, she lived.
But anyway, all of these events have tested me in terms of, you know, you think you know who you are, or you think you have, you know, certain strong foundational principles. Try this and try this. And, you know, the opportunity to walk your talk, to continue to take care of others, to continue to be there for others, to continue to lead your life in a way.
Don't you think it's important, though, the first ingredient is to be there for yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's like the key.
Yeah, without that, you don't have the capacity to take care of others.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it's a key piece. You know, first take care of and heal thyself, and then you have plenty left over for others.
And now, how? Just maybe give me one point, maybe the most challenging thing that made you stretch to know that you're on the right path, the spiritual path.
Sure. I think it was kind of, it's been my capacity to step into being the primary caregiver, distractor, person who brings humor, and even a letting go of a career and a work that I spent my whole life creating. You know, not letting it go completely, but just kind of doing the maintenance work as opposed to expanding it, so that the value set of taking care of dear ones is of a much higher order. You know, leaving that, quote, money making in a material sense aside for a bit. It's priorities. Okay?
Right.
And you know, and it's interesting because it always reminds me of a story about Ram Dass, who was on a 6-month spiritual retreat at a moment in time when he was found up in the mountains of Tibet. And his father had just suffered a major stroke. And this was about 3 months into the program, and they said to him, the monks, well, of course you'll finish the program and then go be with your father. And he said, no, I won't. I'm leaving right now. That's the most important thing. And he tells a story about how that next year that he spent hanging out with his father was the greatest spiritual growth of his life.
Oh, okay.
So back to that spiritual principle of other human beings as critical pieces of our own spiritual puzzle.
Yes, and that's an interesting sentence that you just said, because it is a puzzle.
Oh.
The interactions that we have with others and the profundity that absolutely happens when you're on that path. So I'm sure we could talk a lot about that, but I want to move on just a little bit, because now I really truly see the spiritual core that you're talking about. And so do you think, well, I don't even really have to ask this question, but so now applying spiritual principles to wealth, how do you do that?
Well, I think that the first thing is the inquiry or the awareness about, so what is wealth? And what makes you feel wealthy? And I'm not saying that financial sustenance doesn't play a part in that. It definitely does. But how much does one really need to feel a little bit more secure? And does money in a big bank account really do that? Now, the satisfaction of material things, it doesn't last.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you pull that brand new car out of the showroom, guess what? It's exciting for a few minutes, but it just doesn't, it doesn't last. So the critical thing is to realize and discover what makes you, what is your true wealth? What to you defines wealth? And I think that one of the points that most people miss is they let the society around them dictate what is their wealth, and they don't have enough ground, center, strength to decide.
That's what I call, and I don't really want to put a percentage on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the majority percent. They don't have their followers. You know, where they don't have that creative, innovative thinking on their own. So there's a paradigm shift that is happening regarding that, and it's so important to focus in on thinking for yourself and having that ability. And of course, some people, they are used to doing it the other way, and you know.
Critical. I wish I could remember who this quote was, but I just came across it within the last couple of days. And it was the whole idea that going to heaven with a group, okay? Group think, okay? Perhaps because of religion, was not someone's idea of really getting to heaven. Because it's about having your own thinking and your own thought and deciding, so how does your organism, how does your vehicle respond, and what's the best for you in terms of defining what you value? Great host.
Our tip for the day is change your thinking with money. It is an energy. It is a vehicle to exchange goods. But the love of money is not the primary force that creates, and it does create, evil acts. Get your priorities in order. Your family comes first, not money. Get balance. I will leave you with this. Never give up on your pursuit of your purpose and your passion. And even if you don't know what that is, work with integrity and have a positive attitude where you work. If you don't have a positive attitude, then find another situation that you can be in, an example of a positive attitude. Be grateful for what you have, and be grateful for your freedom, and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the brain and the body. Don't forget, feed your spirituality with unconditional love, being non-judgmental and non-critical, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Live all your relationships from your heart. Bye for now, until next time.